What's Good podcast.
Are you ready?
Hey, ladies and gents, this is your girl, Brianna Javon, with another episode of What's Good podcast. And we are in season 5, and we are still focusing on the film industry. Today, we have a new guest. His name is Jeremy. How are you?
What's going on? I'm doing good. How about you? Well, for Monday, I'm doing good.
I know, right? We making it, huh? All right. So, as you guys know, we do not do interviews. Instead, we do genuine conversations. So, let's get into it. We always start off with icebreakers. So, are you ready for your icebreaker?
Yeah, I think I am.
Okay. I promise it's not going to be terrible. So I think when I announced that I was doing the film industry, I didn't really know too many people in my community. So I reached out to everybody and I was like, hey, tag some folks so I can reach out to, right? You were somebody, shout out to Levi. He was like, hey, he's good people. Go ahead and reach out to him. So why do you think that you were recommended to be a guest on the show?
Oh man, that's God. You know what? Probably because I've been doing it for a decent amount of time now, at least locally, I'll say. But more recently, I've really kind of started doing or being a part of different projects that are kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Have a little bit of notoriety to them. And I've been collaborating with people over the years. Like, I mean, I'm all about collaboration. So I think that my name may be out there to an extent. I'm not saying that I'm just that guy, because I would never like just claim that. But I think that I've had my hand in enough pots to where people kind of know, like, oh, Jeremy, like, he does a lot of different things. And so I could imagine that that's probably why I probably popped into, more specifically, Levi's mind.
Nice, because I saw that you have so many titles, and we're going to get into it. But actor, producer, director, singer, I mean, just the whole nine. So I'm excited to get into your story. Now we're going to get into the genuine conversation. We always start off with who is the guest. So for you, who is Jeremy English?
Well, that's a loaded question because I guess the better question is, how much time do you have?
Okay.
But,
the floor is yours.
Well, I'll try to condense it as good as I can. But Jeremy English is, literally everything that you just said. He's an actor, writer, director, producer, singer. I actually am in... And I'm finally starting to just own this part too, because I just never felt like I was really doing a lot with it. But I'm also in ministry to an extent, and I'll talk about that in a second too. But yeah, and then I have my corporate career too. I work in human resources. I literally do a lot. I do a lot, but that's me professionally. I think personally, Jeremy English is I think Jeremy English is a really good person. He's a loyal person, someone that is really big on pouring into the lives of other people. And that's just in everything that I do. I try my hardest to be as selfless as possible, just in everyday life. And I mean, of course, I know a lot of people have their thoughts and opinions on HR, but my approach to human resources has always been to help people. I know some people see HR as kind of like the big bad wolf of every company, but really good HR professionals work hard to kind of get rid of that stigma. And that's, one of my biggest goals in my corporate profession. But even, in my entertainment career, I'm all about it's so much, specifically in Dallas, there's so much talent out here in so many different areas. I mean, whether you're a singer, you're a rapper, if you, do spoken word, if you're an actor, actress, whatever you do, any type of musician, it's just so many different people that express different forms of art in Dallas that I think it's really important that we do all that we can to kind of uplift one another, to bring awareness to that talent that's, in this city that we love so much. So that's really what drives me every day. And it's just a large part of, like I said, just who I am as a person.
Love it. So I want to take it back to Jeremy at 12 years old. If somebody had asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was your answer back then?
So I was a very, oh man, okay. Let me let me give a little bit of, I guess, context too. So, I, my girlfriend and I have had conversations about this all the time with, especially like people of our generation, meaning, millennials. Um, we were kind of programmed, especially African Americans, to kind of have that steady plan, which is like, of course, graduate high school, then find a college to go to,
Mhm,
get your degree, and then find a really good, stable career and, start a family and, retire and then, that whole thing.
mhm,
But I don't think that we as African Americans have done a really good enough job of um, pushing the agenda of really following your true dreams.
mhm,
And your dreams may be something that's kind of a little less conventional than the normal, um, that normal path that our parents kind of, imprint in our heads.
right,
So for me, I always had, if we're going to go back to 12 years old, I had a bit of a battle, going on in my mind of what I wanted to do with my life, because it was like, okay, I know what my parents are kind of trying to get me to do,
mhm,
which is, finding that profession that I'll go to college and get a degree in it and, pursue it. But then there's the things that I really wanted to do with my life that were, a little less um, stable, I guess you could say.
mhm.
Um, the first part was I thought that I wanted to be an architect. I thought.
Mm. At
Then
12?
I started. What'd you say?
At 12?
At 12, yeah, yeah. So I had a really big fascination with houses. That was just, and I still do.
Mhm,
Like just the overall design and construction of homes. That was just always something that I've had a really big interest in. And even like when I was even younger than that, like 9, 10, I would, with Legos, like I know a lot of people, kids would play with Legos and stuff, but I was like, it was not a game to me. Like with my Legos, I was legitimately building houses where it's like, oh, here's the master bedroom, here's the master bath. Like I was literally like building it, like almost like what architects do, but just
right.
like with Legos.
Mhm,
And then I kind of figured out like all of the other areas of architecture that I would essentially still have to do outside of just homes.
mhm,
And then all of the math that goes into getting your degree in architecture, I was like, I don't know if that's the right fit for me. But
mhm,
at that time, that's what I really thought I wanted to do
mhm,
from a profession standpoint. But when it comes to my dreams and what I really, really wanted to do, music was my first love. So
mhm.
I fell in love with music. Um, Honestly, I can't even really remember exactly when I fell in love with music, but I fell in love with music from the standpoint of being a vocalist
Mhm.
with Usher's My Way album.
Yeah.
And that was the album that really, I know for Usher, because he had made music before that, but that was the first album that really like kind of solidified him as the artist that we know him as.
Mhm.
And I just remember being a kid watching his music videos back then, and like, it was very influential to, me back then. I think the My Way album came out when I was like 8.
Right, right,
And,
right.
and seeing him, he was like MJ Jr.,
Mhm.
And so like it was just really dope to see a young dude with that type of, that type of music, that type of vocal ability, that type of stage presence, all of that, like it was intriguing to me, and it made me feel like, man, I want to do that, you
Mhm.
know. And so I I started out like actually trying to sing when I was like 8.
Okay.
And then I remember it was like one day, um, I was actually singing in my room. I was like 9, and my mom came around the corner and was like, "Was that you?" I was like, yes." And then from there, like, you know, it just that's when that was like that first moment where it was like, oh, maybe I can sing a little bit. And so I just kind of like kept going with it. And by the time I was a preteen, once I turned 12, you know,
Mhm.
since we talking about year 12,
Mhm.
that was what I wanted to do with my life. Like I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a recording artist. And I honestly didn't even know about anything else outside of that,
Mhm.
you know, regarding entertainment. I just knew I wanted to be a singer.
I love it. So you mentioned ministry earlier.
Uh,
Did you grow up in the church and were you in the choir? How did that go as far as you getting the practice of being an artist and getting in front of people to build that stage presence?
yeah. So the crazy thing is, for the longest time, it was a weird thing. And I think a lot of singers have this. Well, not a lot, but a fair amount of singers will have this slight insecurity about their own voices. Like when you hear it yourself.
Mhm.
So when I would hear myself record, I was like, "This is trash. What on earth?" But like other people would tell me that I sounded good, so I was just like, I guess I mean, I just kept doing it because I love music, right? Um, but I grew up. I was literally born and raised at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship Church.
Okay.
You know, the home church of Dr. Tony Evans.
Yes.
And yeah, my family started going there when my dad was a teenager. So we're like literally like some of the like original members of OCBF, and like my entire family goes there. But I actually was not in the like children's choir at OCBF.
Uh-huh.
I didn't actually start singing in church until I started going to my grandmother's church from time to time. She actually was a part of an AME church
Okay.
in West Dallas called Gaines Chapel AME,
Okay.
and they used to have me sing at that church. And it was a small church, like really, really small church. And so like it was really easy to like get over like the stage fright, as
Mhm.
opposed to a large like mega church like
Mhm.
OCBF singing in front of like, I mean, a congregation of hundreds or thousands,
Mhm.
you know. Um so that was really where I kind of got my initial start of practice. But even then, I really, even like when I was in high school, I wasn't in like any gospel choirs. I thought about getting in like a gospel choir at I went to DeSoto High School.
Okay. Neighbors.
Yeah. But it wasn't until I got to college that I started my first couple of years at Prairie View. That was right. Yeah,
Okay.
HBCU all day.
All day.
TV, you know. Um,
TSU, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh no, no. See, now we gotta end the interview. See, come on, come on. I
Slip
thought we
that
was
on
gonna
in
be
there.
friends, and now, no, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But yeah. So I would say definitely at Prairie View, that's when I really started to just kind of, I started to find my voice more. Um, you know, and being able to, because I mean, we used to perform. I was in like 3 different choirs. I was in BSM, like actually on campus, and then we had an on campus chapel that
Mhm.
had a choir called Sounds of Faith. I was in that, and then the church that I actually attended, which was in I almost said Huntsville, in Hempstead. It's
Mhm.
like a little town outside of Prairie View,
Uh-huh.
called Mount Corinth,
Okay.
and I was in the choir there. And so, I mean, I literally was performing, like singing, like all the time. So that really was where I kind of like started to find my voice. as far as ministry is concerned.
Mhm.
What I was referring to earlier, though, I rededicated my life to Christ in 2013.
Congrats.
And I started the company I was working for at the time. We actually had like a weekly Bible study that like a few people would get together and do.
Mm.
And I had come across this Our Daily Bread, like daily devotionals.
Yes.
And we were in Bible study one day, and I was like, oh, I started reading these devotionals. Do y'all mind if I start sharing them with y'all? And they were like, yeah, definitely. And so I started sharing them, and this was in 2013.
Mhm.
And it started out with like 4 or 5 people in the group.
Mhm.
And now here we are, almost 9 years later, and it's about 70 people in the group. Um, and so
Yes.
I send a devotional every day, Monday through Friday, and then every other Friday, I open up the floor for kind of like a virtual prayer request / praise report
Ah, you're
circle.
leading
So, what'd you say?
and you're leading it?
Yeah. So this is like I said, I started it in 2013. I wanted it to serve as kind of like something that um, people can just add a little bit of Jesus in their work day, because I know it'd be several days during my work week where I need a whole lot of Jesus. So
You
I'll
do.
just be like, I'm sure that there are other people that feel the same way. So I send it literally I try my hardest to send it every morning, but then sometimes like my morning will get crazy and then I have to send it in like the afternoon.
Mhm.
But I send it every day, Monday through Friday, just to, like I said, just uplift everybody as much as I can. I know that everybody probably doesn't read every single one, but that's okay. Whenever you're able to read them, it's there. Like, and I send them, and then of course, like I said, we have the virtual prayer circle every other Friday. And it's people in the group that don't necessarily know each other.
Mhm.
But I mean, there have been several times of people, in there that I've just met throughout my career,
Mhm.
praying for people people that I met at one organization, praying for somebody that I met at another company. So, and I think that's just so dope to, how it's come together like that. And so, um, my girlfriend was like, she literally said, she was like, so you're in ministry, right? And I was like, I don't know if I would call it that, but
You are.
when I like really like sat there and thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, it kind of is. So
Mhm, mhm, mhm. That's amazing. So I do towards the end of the show, I want you to make sure that you invite people
yes,
so we'll make sure that we have a time to share that information. So
definitely,
I do want to
definitely.
switch gears. Now I want to get into production. And when I hear production, I think about so many different things, like, being an
Mhm.
executive producer, assistant producer, if that's behind or in front of the camera, whatever that may look like. I want to know, how did you start with being an actor? I know you mentioned writer, you have many different titles when it comes to production,
Mhm.
right? So I want to know, was it like some theater in there because you are a singer, or was it just straight acting gigs? And then, on the side, I'm still doing my singing. How did that start?
Yeah, so it did. You literally hit the nail on the head. It started with theater. I went to Prairie View for 2 years, and then I transferred to UNC, and that's where I graduated from.
Okay.
And my junior year, when I transferred to UNC, I found out about a Black theater organization or collective on campus called CAST, which stands for Collaborating Actors, Singers, and Talents. And I actually went to their first meeting,
Mhm.
and it was actually a lot of people in there. It was probably like 40 people
Mhm.
in like that first meeting of the semester. And they were just, they did like little like theater exercises, like improv stuff,
Mm.
and then they also talked about like their first production, and then when they were going to have auditions for it. And so I was like, well, I'm just gonna go for it.
Mm.
So I had never auditioned for a stage play in my life.
Mhm.
This stage play was called, it was an improv based show. It was called 30 Bits of Reality, and it was 30 skits based on like reality TV.
Okay.
And so I auditioned, and for my monologue, judge me not, please. For my monologue, I actually did Bernie Mac's monologue on the stripping industry from the Players Club.
Yeah.
And and the crazy thing was, I was really like worried that it was gonna be too much.
Hmm.
And I later found out, which by the way, I got casted.
Nice.
And I later found out that that was like what sealed the deal, because they were like, "Oh, he not scared to just like go there."
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know Players Club and you remember that scene where Bernie Mac is like sworn in Ebony,
Mm-hmm.
um, and he's talking about like how the stripping business got started. It's kind of X-rated the way he's speaking about
Kinda.
it.
Kinda.
And so the fact that I guess the fact that I wasn't like afraid to like just go there in my monologue, they said that was kind of what sold them. So that was literally the start of a whole new beginning of a talent and a passion that I didn't even know I had.
Mm.
So it was like it started there, and then all of a sudden, I was in like every production that they had from
Mhm.
then on. I was in an HIV awareness production that we had called "A Shot in the Dark." I was one of the leads in that production. That show actually had original music as well, and so that was my first time doing, I guess, kind of like musical theater.
Mm.
And that was when the first time that I sang on a platform that was like that big, because the show was in it's an auditorium that UNT has called the Lyceum,
Okay.
and it seats like 500 people. And so I was just like really nervous about that. But I mean, back then that was like when like Twitter was like, I mean, Twitter is like, of course, big now, but this was like the beginning days of Twitter. And
Mhm.
so like everybody was tweeting the whole time. And I like after the show, like went and like just looked at everybody hashtagging UNT Shot in the Dark. And I was seeing like all the stuff that people were saying, and people
Mhm.
was like, I didn't even know Pop Pop could sing and this and that. And I was just like, oh. So, it was, again, it was like the start of like me really like just coming into my own as a performer, all the good stuff. So I was in a bunch of different shows with cast. I wrote my first production called Shades Rebellion in 2012.
Mhm.
That show also had original music. And I just did that like literally all throughout college. And then even after I graduated, I did Dreamgirls, I did The Wiz, I did Black Nativity. So I just continued to perform. But I knew that there was more that I wanted to do outside of theater.
Mhm.
And so I was like, why don't I start with like a web series? And so in 2014, I wrote a web series called 3048.
Mhm.
And it was, I guess the best way to kind of categorize is almost like the male version of Girlfriends almost. It
Okay.
was basically, I don't know if you've seen, it's a show on BET Plus, I think, called Bruh.
Yes. I mean, I've seen commercials, but I haven't seen it. But I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
I haven't watched it either, but from
about.
what I've seen in terms of like the premise of the show, it's like, bro, this is literally my show.
Mhm.
But that's neither here nor there. But so so yeah, I started there,
Mhm.
and I did not know nothing about nothing, and
Mhm.
so I was literally just kind of like taking stabs in the dark of just like, okay, we just gonna figure it out. I had a homeboy from high school that did cinematography, and I was like, okay, like let's just like go for it.
Mhm.
We held auditions. Thankfully, I was living in a building downtown that had a really nice conference room that we could use for auditions. So it looked real professional, even though we didn't know what the hell we was doing. Um, and yeah, we got it casted, and we filmed the entire season, 9 episodes.
Mhm.
We filmed the entire season over the course of, I think, 2 months. Yeah, like 2 months.
Okay.
And I literally, in all honesty, and this can, serve as kind of, I guess, advice to people that are wanting to get into film and don't really know like what to do.
Mhm.
I did a lot of research, like literally just going into Google and like how to start a web series.
Mhm.
Like, but I also was researching things like how to create a production schedule and stuff like that. And I was trying to model my web series after not necessarily a web series, but an actual scripted series on the small screen.
Mm.
Because that was the quality that I wanted to be able to create. Like, yeah, it's gonna be on YouTube, but I'm like, I shouldn't, lowball myself. Like, let's make it as high quality as possible.
Yeah.
So I literally modeled it after what show was it that I can't remember what show it was at the time. It was a scripted show that I literally looked up like, and you'll be surprised at what you can find out there. I found their actual production schedule, a copy of it, and I literally just kind of like copied and pasted in terms of like creating the schedule to be able to coordinate all of the, because obviously we weren't doing scenes with every single actor every day, so just kind of like working out those optics. um Another thing was making sure that I had additional hands on deck, on set, I should say. So I did have an assistant director, and then I did have she was kind of like a production assistant that kind of helped out with just like making sure we had everything that we needed. Um, it was a decent first shot. Definitely not my best work
Okay.
at all, but it was my first time. It was my first shot at it, and it was a learning experience. So again, just kind of advice to people that are wanting to get into film. Um, don't be afraid to just go for it. You may end up, not, it may not be everything that you had hoped it would be the first time around, but
Mhm.
still use it as a learning experience to be able to grow from that one. Because I mean, in my opinion, I feel like each of my productions have gotten better because I learned things along the way that I
Nice.
was able to apply to the next production.
So I do want to rewind a little bit because you said so many different nuggets, right? I want to go back to you just being bold. And if I had this as a mindset, I'm gonna just go ahead and do it. Example with the whole Bernie Mac monologue, you were like, "This is what I'm gonna do, no matter what the situation is. I know I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna make it happen, right?" And then
Yep.
going back to your first film, you were like, "I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna call some friends. We're gonna come together and we're gonna get this going."
Yep.
So, of course, you're gonna have people in your mind like, "Should you have done that? Are you do you are you never done this before, so what are you doing to
Right.
prepare for it?" So I want to know what those conversations look like on your end to say, "I understand what y'all are saying, but this is a goal and a vision of mine."
Okay, well, the main thing is I would say is making sure that you have the right people on your team and in your corner, because everybody does not want to see you win. I
Mhm.
know that that sounds harsh, but it's a harsh reality.
Mhm.
So I think that, when it comes to your vision, I mean, you know, Erica Badu said it best. Keep in mind, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my, you
Okay.
know, so, at the end of the day, like it's, you're gonna always put more into your vision than other people will in most cases, but you still need to be able to find people that are still going to be invested in your vision and see the vision. Everybody is not supposed to be or meant to be a part of every project. It may be somebody that you've worked with in the past
Mhm.
that maybe, this just isn't the right fit for them to come on board. And only you can, really figure that out. I think I think having those conversations in the beginning of like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Um, what do you think?
Mhm.
Is this something that you would like to be a part of with me? And then, of course, use discernment, because people are very grimy out here. People
Mhm.
will definitely steal your ideas.
Mhm.
So I would say approach with caution.
Mhm.
You can still you can actually get ideas copywritten. Now, I mean, if you want to go that far in the beginning, you could, but I didn't do that just because I just feel like it's an extra step that's not necessarily necessary.
Right.
Um, and then, I mean, of course, there are like NDAs that you can like have people sign and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, but that's more so once you are getting to the point of like, oh, we have the finished product. I'm speaking with people to get it pitched and all that good stuff. We can talk about that a little further down the road. But as far
Mhm.
as in the beginning, I think it's really important to know who it is that you're speaking with, that you're trying to get on board, because everybody's not supposed to be a part of it. Everybody's not going to have your best interests at heart.
Mhm.
And then again, I can't stress this enough. People will definitely steal your ideas. So you have to make sure that you're approaching with caution.
Mm. Yes, I think all of that's good because what do they say? Wolves and sheep. You know that
Oh
saying?
yeah, 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 yeah.
I can't think of what it is right now, but
Um,
you can
d-
be
d-
undercover
you
haters.
know, what is it? A wolf in sheep's clothing, or what
Yes,
is it?
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
But that
yeah,
is
something like
our
that.
reality, unfortunately, where you feel like, oh, okay, I'm going to, you know, talk to somebody just on the strength of I know that you're my friend, and they're going behind your back like, okay, I can just make this better. I'm gonna make this my own. So I'm very
Yep.
thankful that you said that. But on the other end, you just have to be careful who you have around you. Not saying that
Yeah.
everybody is bad, but you just got to be careful with who's around you and use that discernment of, okay, what's the reason for this person being around me? How can I contribute to them? How can they contribute to me? And
Yeah.
that's why I want to go back to you when it comes to collaboration. As you mentioned from the very beginning, you love pouring onto other people.
Mhm.
So I want to know from your standpoint, was that something that was like just in you as a child, or is it something that just grew in you as you got older, just being around more people? As you mentioned, you went to several different colleges. I know for me, that's when I realized that I was a real people person. When I went to school, I was like, dang, I love networking. Like I really like being out here, you know? So for you, where did the spirit of I just want to collaborate and support people where they are, where did it come from?
You know what? I kind of always had that mindset, and I think it's more so because I don't know. That's just my personality. I'm just
Mhm.
not a person that really cares about being, know, the that guy, or the king of whatever. That's just not important to me. It never really has. I do what I do. Um, Entertainment and corporate career. I do it for the enjoyment. I do it for the love of it all.
Mhm.
So for me, it's never really. I just don't care about, like I said, being on top. And I just am a firm believer that you definitely get what you put out.
You better say,
And it's not to say that I'm only like trying to do right by people because I want them to come back to me, but I mean that is a factor, you know.
mhm,
But even above all of that, like contrary to what people may believe,
mhm,
there is room for everybody to win, like multiple people to win. Like I
mhm,
don't understand why so many people feel like they have to undercut certain people to win. And it's like, nah, like you really don't have to do that. Like you can literally help and uplift one another. Y'all can work together. Like in this, I mean, you putting other people on, they, who knows, you have these positive interactions and positive work experiences with people. You never know how that person can like, pay it forward with you in the future. So it's just like, I feel like there's bags out there for everybody.
mhm,
There are wins out there for everybody.
mhm.
So I mean, for me, I think that it's just best to kind of, because I know that this is something that's definitely been known in Dallas specifically.
Mhm.
We kind of have that crabs in the bucket mentality where it's like everybody is just trying to like it seems like it's, everybody just want to be number one.
Hmm.
But when you look at like some of the other cities, like, Atlanta and New York and Cali, and, of course, they're going to have their fair share of, selfish people that just want to be on top. But I feel like they have a lot more camaraderie,
Yep.
like as cities. And I feel like that contributes to why those cities are kind of where they are,
Right.
with all of the success that they have, because you see a lot of the people like collaborating and working together. And I mean, realistically speaking, like we're only human. It's only so much that you can do as one person.
True.
You should want other people to help you, because it's only gonna make your stuff that much better, and
Hmm.
and vice versa. So it's just like, I truly believe that we are better together. That's just my philosophy.
Okay, so because I feel like this next topic, well, this next question I'm gonna ask you, we could talk about it for days. So I want to narrow it down to one business tip that you would provide to someone that wants to be an actor, actress, wants to be in the writing scene, producing scene, whatever that may be, just being a creative. What would be one business tip that you can give them as starting up or starting a new project or whatever that may look like?
That is that's a really good question. If I had to narrow it down to one, um, I hate to do this, but I don't know if I can narrow it to one. Okay, you know what? It is one. These two are intertwined.
Okay.
So the part A is go for it. Because I mean, you can't just be out here dreaming and like literally do nothing. I mean, regardless of if you're a Christian or not, you definitely know that faith without works is dead.
Mhm.
So if you're gonna be out here like thinking like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and you just thinking that, I don't know, L.A. Reid is just finna knock on your door, or Issa Rae finna knock on your door. Like it's just not. It don't happen like that.
Right.
So I the first tip is to just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the worst that can happen is like you may not, you know, 100% succeed the first time, but I mean, who does? You
Mm-hmm.
know? So it's, go for it and keep at it. So that's part A. Part B is definitely do your research, because I don't think that you should just go into things blindly.
Hmm.
I think that, yeah, you want to, have your fair amount of fearlessness and just going for it, but go for it with go for it reasonably. Because like it's like, I'm not about to, and I know some people will do this, and it works out for some people, but I don't think I could do it. But I would never like just move to LA or move to New York on a hope and a prayer. Now, granted, the hopes and the prayers will be there, but
Hmm.
I'm still going to have a plan.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with, if you want to do things locally, if you want to just go for it, you're starting up a web series, you want to start, going on auditions and things like that. You still need to plan for that. You need to
Hmm.
prepare for what does that realistically look like.
Hmm.
Because what you don't want is to go into it blindly and then you fall so hard that it discourages you.
Hmm.
Because the industry is, even on a local level, the industry is tough. It really can be tough. So again, of course, like I said, just do your research. As an example, as an actor or an actress, if you want to do film, since we're mainly talking about film, having a monologue, well, more than one, a couple of monologues, typically contrasting monologues,
Hmm.
on deck. Like, so whenever you do come across any type of audition that you want to go to, at least you're prepared for that. And then also, if you're wanting to do like, performing in general, if you want to do like musical theater and stuff like that, of course, um the monologues will definitely help you, but also making sure that you have a song prepared too.
Mm,
Um, and then, if you're, just an overall, like a producer or, a director or something like that, again, do your research. What does that look like? Starting up a new project. What financially, what is that going to cost me?
mm,
But there are resources out there like crowdfunding, but crowdfunding doesn't always happen like in terms of like finding people to fund your projects. Sometimes you'll get people that will, but it doesn't always happen that way. So if it is a situation where you don't get that, um literally, like I said, doing that research to see like what is it going to cost me, because if I'm not able to get funding, I may have to self fund.
mhm,
If I have to self fund, am I prepared for that financially?
mhm.
So it's just, again, overall, just doing your research of what does it look like to start up, whatever it is, whether it's starting up a new project, auditioning, et cetera, et cetera.
Nice, nice, nice. People, you got a plan because I hear that all the time. That I want to go to Hollywood. I want to go to New York, and I'm like, well, are we gonna get it together before we go? Because God may not want you to go to Hollywood. He may want you to stay in here
Right,
ministry here. So
right,
that's
definitely.
why I definitely agree with you. Sometimes it may sound good, but it's not good for you right now. So
Yep, yep,
I am
yeah,
so grateful that you said that. All right, so we're
yeah.
gonna switch gears. Our next portion of the conversation is called our highs and lows. Highs and lows, basically, what are you something really, really proud of? Jeremy, you did this. Papa, you did that. Pat on the back. So let's start with your highs. Anything that you can think of right now you would like to share.
Um, you know what? I will say just kind of where I am now.
Mhm.
Um, I have definitely had well, let me not get ahead of myself. Where I am now, more specifically, like with my current project, um, it is so my current project, The Crib. If y'all haven't watched it, it's basically like it's like a cross between Tiny Desk concert and Rhapsody the Basement. So we do live music sets and also interviews.
Mhm.
And it was a concept that I came up with in the middle of the pandemic because I was like, well, what can we do since like, for performers, like we weren't able to perform.
Right.
I did Black Nativity in December of 2019. And that was like before that, I was really just doing film. I had kind of stepped away from doing stage productions for like about 4 years because I was only focusing on film.
Mhm.
And at the end of 2019, doing Black Nativity, I was like, I'm finna go ahead and get back out there. And then boom, the pandemic happened. And it was just like, oh nah, you ain't finna perform right now.
Mhm.
So I was just like, well, I don't want to just like not like be able to do stuff. So I was like, what's something I could do potentially like at my house and, like just something fairly simple. And I don't know what it was. I think I don't even think I was watching Tiny Desk, but I was like just on YouTube, like looking at performances and stuff like that. And I was like, I feel like it would be really dope if we had something performance based that
Mhm.
spotlighted Dallas artists. And
Nice.
I was like, well, how could we do that? Especially since we're in the middle of a pandemic and like really ain't nobody going nowhere. We can't like, you know. So that's when I was like, well, I could, my crib is, decent in size. I was like, I could do something here. I mean, we've done stuff in my crib before, so I was like, maybe we'll do that. And then, like all of a sudden, it just all started just kind of piecing together in my mind, and I was like, I'm just gonna do this. I'm just
Mhm.
gonna do it. And like really going from like it being this really small, like microscopic idea in my brain to seeing it like now, like as a full, like finished product. And
Mhm.
now we're filming season 2 next month.
Yeah.
just like looking at like how it turned out,
Mhm.
um, the quality of this project, and uh, I promise I'm not a boastful person. I'm not, but the quality of this project to me,
Mhm.
and I am biased, but to me, the quality is along the lines of something that you would see on like an actual network.
Mhm. I
And
agree.
that was a really high moment for me looking at, where I kind of came from.
Mhm.
I got into film in 2014, didn't know what the hell I was doing. And like now, like seeing my project literally looking like, something that could be, alongside, some of the biggest shows out there.
Nice.
So regardless of, the awareness that the show has, I mean, we just started it. Like I wasn't expecting to hit 1 million views, for the first season. But that wasn't my goal. My goal was to get it out there, get it started,
Mhm.
um, and have this formula because I knew that once we put it all together, I was like, this is actually going to be really easy to
Mhm.
produce,
Mhm.
very inexpensive to
Mhm.
produce because we're doing it out of my house.
Mhm.
So I was like, we can like this can be like an ongoing project. And so like for me, I was like, okay, let's just get this thing off the ground.
Mhm.
And we got it off the ground, and the reception from just people on like social media and stuff, like we would get views on Lord, on YouTube,
Mhm.
but like the bulk of our interaction really came on Instagram.
Okay.
Because a lot of people would like watch our videos on like IGTV, and they would watch our reels and stuff like that. Like I mean, we would get a decent amount of views, especially for it to be, our first season.
Mhm.
We're independently producing it.
Mhm.
We don't have like anybody promoting it or backing it. So it was just, I mean, just in general, it was in its totality a very high moment for me, just seeing the finished product and how well it's being received. I'm still on a high from it, and that keeps me going to want to move forward with seasons in the future. So, like I said, we're starting filming season 2 on the 27th of December. So,
That is amazing. I want to say congrats because I
thank
saw
you,
it and I was like, this is really professional. This is really good. And
thank you.
looking at the snippets or the clips on your Instagram, it made me want more because the way that you would kind of advertise it a little bit,
Yeah,
they would only give like a little bit of the answer. I'm like, well, I want more of the answer. Let me go
yeah,
watch.
yeah, yeah.
So it was just really, really good, and I can say congrats because, like you mentioned, it does take a lot for us to be us creatives to produce during the pandemic, and you did that. So
Yeah.
congrats.
Thank you. No, I really, really appreciate that.
You're welcome. So let's go on the other side of the spectrum when it comes to our lows. Anything that made
Mhm.
you question, should I continue to do what I'm doing? Having those hard conversations with God. It's not looking like how it's supposed to look, Lord. How do you push through those moments to get to where you are today? Because of course you're still here, you're producing, you're writing, you're doing everything as far as film. So what was that moment that made you question it? And then on the opposite end, what made you push through it?
So, and this is actually, I mean, it's not quite a low right now, but it is something that I'm still like, I'm still getting my mind wrapped around it. But so in 2017, yeah, 2017, it's like, Lord, the years just, anyway. So 2017, we worked on a reality show um, that we were, and I'll say we, me and my business partner, Chris Lee, he is the CEO of True Work Media, and he's the person that I worked with on The Crib.
Mhm.
So that professional quality and stuff like that all comes from, well, not all, but a lot of it comes from him. We worked together on that.
Mhm.
So we worked together in 20 at the end of 20, well no, summer 2017 to put together a pilot for a reality show that would be based out of Dallas.
Okay.
And the name of this reality show is called Up and Coming. Um, and I'm comfortable talking about this because the show is copywritten. So if somebody's watching this and decides like, oh, I'm finna, nah, you can't. So, but it was my thought process around it was I wanted to, of course, like, I mean, reality TV has been like, at the forefront for a while now, at least a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we have never had one in Dallas. Now I know they had like, like Real Housewives of Dallas, and then they had Little Women Dallas, and like it was like a couple of like little ones here and there, but we did not have a reality show based out of Dallas that showcased the Black people in Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there is like this stigma or like this persona that like in Texas, like people outside of like the South, like they think that we, ride horses to work and stuff like that. So I was like, nah, we need to show like what, it really is.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like I said, bring awareness to the Black community of Dallas.
Right.
And, just all the different people in Dallas that are just doing big things that are up and coming in their career. So we had a girl that is a fashion blogger and a stylist.
Mm-hmm.
We had a girl that's a makeup artist. We had a female DJ on the show. We had a guy who's a personal trainer that owned his own gym.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the show myself. And that was like I'm not a part of all of my productions, but this one I was like, well, in order to like make all of the storylines connect, I was like, I'm literally introducing everybody. So I was like, I'll be in like season 1, like if it gets picked up, whatever. So anyways,
we're gonna put it out there in the
yeah. So we finished it in 2017. We got it completely edited and at the beginning of 2018, and then we just like started going just at it in terms of getting it pitched.
Mm-hmm.
We were going into it so boldly because originally we were working alongside a guy.
Mm-hmm.
I will not mention his name, but a guy in Atlanta that is in the industry that was going to be helping us get it pitched to Viacom. So he actually worked on. I can't. I'm not going to give away like actual titles of shows, but he worked on a very prevalent show, reality show that is on Viacom. We'll just say that. And he had a very strong connection to my cousin, who was also on the show. And he was, we had already like before we even started filming, when we were casting. We were in conversations with him about, what the process would look like and all that good stuff. Well, it got down to the wire. And once we finished, we had the finished product. We were staying in constant communication with him. And it came down to it. It was time for us to go ahead and send him the finished product so that he could start helping us pitch on our behalf. And dude just went ghost. Still have not, that was almost 4 years ago. Still haven't heard from this man. Still haven't heard back from him.
Even cousin that has a strong connection with him?
She hasn't heard from him either. I have my personal theories of like what might have happened. But yeah, neither one of us have exchanged any type of words with him since then. But again, this serves as a reminder to everybody. Like I'm still glad that I got it copywritten because he couldn't actually take my actual finished product and pitch it because it's like, oh no, this is mine. This belongs to me. But that didn't stop us. We still attempted to still get it pitched. Spoke with a couple of people that I had some connections with in LA. And all of the people that I spoke with in LA were just like, it's good, but, and it was always a but. It was like, so one of my main goals was I didn't want it to be a show that was like super deep rooted in the drama. I was like, it's gonna be drama because it's like it's people and different personalities. Like just naturally it'll happen. And we did have some drama in there that naturally happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, that is not going to be the premise of this show.
Right.
That's not, and I'm like, I know that there is a market for a show that is not going to exploit Black people
Yes.
via reality TV.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my overall goal. And then, in so many words, every person or every executive that I spoke with in LA, in so many words, were telling me that they thought it was too boring because it didn't have enough. It didn't have enough drama. And of course, it was like, it was a shot to my pride. I'm like, I think this ish is dope. Like, what y'all talking about? Like a show, a reality show does not have to be, hair pulling, drink throwing to be good. And we've seen that with other shows. Like, I mean, T.I. and Tiny, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's an example. There's other shows. It was a show called Southern Charm, New Orleans, with it's mainly Black people on that show that comes on Bravo. So I mean, there are definitely shows that aren't like they have drama, but it's not all about the drama. So I was just like, I know that this is possible to do. And I don't know, after the situation with the person in Atlanta and then having those meetings with the people in LA, I definitely started questioning myself of like, is this really as good as I think it is? Am I, focusing my efforts where they really need to be? And I kind of stayed in that spot with that particular project for a long time, like a really long time. And I kind of tabled it because I was just like, you know what, maybe right now isn't the time for that project. So I was like, well, let me focus my energy in, on other projects. And, if those pop off, then of course, like that just opens the door for this project because for up and coming, because I'm like, hey, you just never know. And then about 2 or 3, maybe 4 months ago, I see that Issa Rae is putting out a reality show based in LA that is literally a mirror of up and coming. And of course, I don't have any like proof or anything like that anybody that I spoke with took my idea to Issa Rae Productions or what is it called? What's her production company called? Lord, it's Ray something. Ray something Productions. I don't have any proof that anybody like took my show over there or anything like that. So I'm not even gonna like just sit here and say like, they stole my idea. Like I'm not gonna like sit here and be cocky and say that happened. However, I just found it very, very, very interesting that it was, I mean, all the way down to the aesthetics of the cast. Like, so many of the people were in similar industries of the people on my show. There was people on the show that looked like people on my show. And then, of course, the overall premise of the show is literally the exact same premise, just in LA. So that was definitely a very low blow for me, like when I just saw that. But then when I talked to one of my homegirls, she was my production assistant on Up and Coming. She, I had a conversation with her about it. She's like, yeah, I saw that. And so I was just like, am I tripping for feeling the way that I feel? And she was like, nah, you're not tripping. You're not tripping. But remember all of those executives that told you that this show wouldn't work. Clearly, somebody is making it work.
Right.
So maybe that should be ammunition for you to press forward with that project. And I was like, you know what? You might be right.
Yeah.
So, it definitely was a low, but we're currently in the process of turning it into a high. I'll say that.
I love that because even if you were to reach out to Issa and give her flowers and say you did amazing with this,
Yep.
but I feel like we can bring this to Dallas with this type of cast. Bing.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
she already sees the vision already, right?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
for you to bring it into a different location, you got LA, but let me show you what Dallas can bring to the table too.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I love shout out to your assistant producer because some people may be scared. And let me stay in my place. I don't want to step on any toes, but she took the initiative to say, hey, even though that may
Yep.
happen, it's still a blessing in a disguise of what can happen in the future for us.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Shout out to my girl Candace Williams. Cause I just had to shout her out because she definitely, and she always like is super uplifting with like everything that I do. I have now these I can't talk about yet because I don't have them copywritten yet, but I have
Mm.
scripts that are like that I haven't started pitching yet. And she's like she pretty much reads every script that I write just because she's a writer too.
Mhm.
And so she enjoys reading scripts and books and stuff like that. And she like always is like giving me like kudos on just going after my dreams and stuff and then of course like when stuff like that happens with up and coming she's always like very reassuring, so shout out to Candace Williams if she I'm gonna have to make sure she sees this because I want her to know how much I appreciate
Come on, Candace. We love you, girl. All
her.
right. So we're towards the end. We always leave off with a couple of things, but this one in particular is one free advice. You've been giving advice this whole entire time. So let's keep it short and sweet. Anything that you want to give the people to just encourage them to go after their goals. I feel like with me and, being a mentor, you've been as long in the industry as you have, we have so much to give to people. Certain
Yeah,
people are putting price tags on it, which I feel is so ridiculous. It
ridiculous.
is beyond me when I see these price tags about certain things. So, one free advice that you can give somebody that's watching today that they can take with them to apply tomorrow.
um I would definitely say know that you are as dope as you know that you are.
Mm,
I think that will sum up everything because there are going to be moments that you may actually get in your own head, but if you keep sight of the fact that you are dope in whatever it is that you want to do. Um, of course, still continue to pour into your craft,
mhm,
but the foundation of that craft is that you are dope at it, and that will give you it should give you the push to keep going after it. And again, like I said, I feel like that'll be the basis of everything else that you encounter as you continue forward. So yeah, anybody watching this, just know that you are dope. Know that you are worthy
mhm,
of attaining your dreams. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not.
mhm.
And just go for it. I know I've said that several times, but I mean that. Like, literally go after whatever it is that you want because you don't want this life that we live in to be over and then you literally leave this world with regret of, not going after those things that were important to you. So the time is now. As we see, life is way too short.
Too.
So the time is now. Just go for it.
Good. Okay, so tell the people where they can contact you if that's Instagram, website. Just keep up with all things Journey.
Yeah. So, well, okay. Well, I guess I'll start with my Instagram. My Instagram is Paul. That's P as in Peter. AW underscore dot underscore Paul. So it's like my nickname is Paul, like country term for grandpa. And then I am on Facebook as Jeremy Paw English. My last name is English, like the language. And then also, if you want to, and this is all of my social media, but if you want to follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn, If it's somebody that's watching this that I mean, of course, I know that this is about film, but I get people literally all the time asking me about how to get into HR because it's like, I mean, and especially if you're an African American or a minority, period. It's not many of us in HR, so come
Mm.
on, come on over. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Jeremy English, and then as far as like my shows right now, the Crib, we are on Instagram at the Crib. It's THA Crib Dallas, and then we're also on YouTube, the Crib Dallas. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm on Twitter.
Bible study.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Um, Bible study. If you are, or my devotionals that I send out, if you would like to be a part of my mailing list, shoot me an email. Well, you can reach out to me on social media or any of my social media, or you can shoot me an email, and I will get you added to the list. My email is JD as in dog English _ 90 at Yahoo. And yeah, either way that you want to reach out to me to get added to the devotional list, I will definitely get you added right then and there. And yeah, and I do have Twitter, but I don't ever use it.
Me
Not
neither.
anymore.
Me either.
Yeah, I used to use it in college, but I don't use it anymore.
It's all right. Well, okay, so this is the last one. It's called Motivational Moment. It's either a quote, Bible verse, or anything of that nature, just for us to say our thoughts. I'll say mine first and you say yours, and it's a wrap.
Yeah.
So today's motivational moment is a quote. I don't know if it's Regal or Regale J. Dawson. I just know he's a pastor in Flint, Michigan. But he said the only difference between where you are and where you want to be is the steps you haven't taken yet. So it really hit me because, and I've said this a couple times, affirmations are good until you put action behind it. I am so tired of people preaching, you got to talk good over yourself. Yes, that's the first step. But when you talk over yourself with good things, you want to make sure that you apply those things as well. Like, I'm going to have a beautiful day. How are you going to have a beautiful day and you crying and you sobbing, now you're messing up somebody else's day? I feel like it's very important for you to take that plan and put some action behind it. Oh, I'm going to have an event or I'm going to start a project next week. And then you haven't even got your spiral out to start writing down notes or jotting down ideas. It just sounds good because it looks good in front of other people. So what are we doing to accomplish? Like, are we getting some milestones together? Like, what are we doing to move this project forward? So I just want to say there's nothing wrong with affirmations. I know people are going to be like, it's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with talking good of yourself. But at the same time, what are we doing to push forward and make it a lifestyle? I'm going to live well. I'm going to eat well. I am beautiful. This, and that. What are we going to do to make it a reality? Not just words. What are we going to do with adding actions to those words? And what are those steps so we can get those things accomplished? So when I read that, those were like some of the things that I was thinking about. What about you?
You know what? The one of my favorite Bible verses is 2 Corinthians 5:7. For we walk by faith and not by sight. And I think that can also serve as kind of like the premise of everything that we've been talking about today. I know I mentioned that, of course, faith without works is dead. But, to break down the verse itself, it said, don't ignore the fact that it says, for we walk by faith. So the verse is instructing you to walk, which means, take action. But when you are taking action, make sure that you're doing that in faith and not just by the things that you see. Because there are going to be things that you're going to see, especially on your journey, whatever that journey is, that can, potentially discourage you if you are operating in on the flesh and only the flesh. Of course, as humans, we are flesh and blood. That's what we are. But it's very important to make sure that you are leaning on your faith as a human, as a child of God, You need to lean on your faith in every single thing that you do, because that is really what's going to get you through. If I were to honestly pay attention to all of the stuff that was in front of me, every time that I've started any project or any venture, or even if I go all the way back to when I started acting in college, if I like literally just would have looked in front of me and was like, I ain't got no acting experience, I ain't never like been in no improv show, I don't know what I'm doing, like I wouldn't have gone for it. But I have faith that at the end of the day, like, you know what, I enjoy performing, I enjoy making people laugh and be entertained, and so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go for it. Like, of course, I'm gonna prepare me a monologue. It was not the most Christian monologue at all, but I'm gonna do all that I can, and you know, I'm gonna have faith that God is going to. I mean, another Bible verse, that, you know, I'm going to take delight in the Lord. He's going to grant the desires of my heart. I have faith in that. And I'm sorry, that's Psalm 37:4. And that, I'm sorry, Psalm 37:4 is the take delight in the Lord, and He will grant the desires of your heart. Sorry, just wanted to clear that up real quick. But yeah, above all, like I said, leaning on your faith in literally everything that you do. But again, do not ignore the beginning of that verse. For we walk by faith. It don't say for we stand or we think in faith. No, it literally says for we walk by faith and not by sight. So, you know, again, just kind of piggybacking on everything that I said, just go for it. But, you know, of course, plan, do what you need to do, but do all of that in faith.
Indeed. This was a blessing. I am so thankful for you. This was so good.
Thank you for having me. This is fun. I'm real. I can be weird when it comes to like talking about like my own stuff, because I be tunnel vision so many times that I just be like, okay, so, you know, that question of like, you know, what is it that you do? I'm like, hey, what do I do? So, you know, but no, I appreciate, you know, the opportunity to, you know, just express myself, and, you know, hopefully encourage somebody that's watching this that like, hey, I don't have it all figured out. I'm keeping real with y'all. I really don't have it all figured out, but that's not gonna stop me, and it shouldn't stop you. So
I love it. Well, I just want to say, everyone, please, please, please follow Jeremy in all of his endeavors. I am excited for you. I want you to keep me updated with everything that you do. I know I follow you already, so I'll just be creeping and seeing what's happening so I can support you in any way that I can. With that being stated, for everyone that's listening, if this is morning, noon, evening, or night, thank you so much for listening to another episode of What's Good Podcast, and we will see you next week. Deuces.
y'all.